Yo, Corey.
Yo, Jesse. What's going on, Cuse? C&J Juse from the Cuse. Another day, another episode. So what's up, bro?
Not much, man. Just chilling. Ended up going to a basketball game last night of one of my old clients that I worked with.
Okay.
Coaching her in basketball, and I watched her play at FLCC. She played Cayuga. They won their first game, so it was pretty cool, man.
FLCC, that's the name of their school.
Yep. So it was pretty cool to see that, and it's fun to watch her really striving. You know
How'd
what I
she
mean?
do?
She did good. She
Really?
did good, man. Yeah, she's really playing phenomenal. It's fun to watch her grow and be the player she's becoming. She's really doing great things.
Yo, women's sports have become, I know we said this before, but women's sports have become so competitive
Oh, it's
now
awesome.
that like the nature is just it's dope, man.
I loved it, man. Even like it was cool because the two basketball programs, the boys basketball program plays right after, and like they were getting right into it. It was getting intense. It was a tight game.
So you got to see both games then?
No, I just saw the
you
girls
just saw the
game.
girls game.
But it was
Okay,
fun to
okay.
watch, man. Like I watched this girl really kind of get defeated as an athlete when I first started working with her, and it's so cool to see her strive and all the hard work she's put in. So my hat's off to her. My hat's off to her team. You know, it was cool to see them win, and just the opportunities watching her play at that level is so cool. 'Cause
That's
something
dope.
she doubted herself, and she should be the most confident kid on the court. She's
And this
a great
is
player,
actually
great
going to
kid.
build the confidence for her.
Yeah, I'm hoping,
That's-
man. I'm
yeah,
hoping
yeah.
she deserves it. You know, she's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen as an athlete. You know, and she really busts her butt. She works hard. She's got a positive attitude. She's motivated, and it's fun to see her really striving right now.
Okay.
Man.
Now,
I love it.
Let me ask you a question, because I know when I coached and when I would go see my son play ball, how are the fans, the parents, how, you know, because I got to see both sides of it
Yep.
to a point to where I would be even arguing with some parents, especially when it came to either my son or his teammates, you know what I mean? Because I had to defend them also, you know, because I looked at it like it's not just my son, it's all of them, you know, so how is that experience with that?
So, from my last night, it wasn't too bad. You know what I
Okay,
mean? People weren't too
okay.
bad. The reffing was probably some of the worst, and I don't like to complain. I don't like to complain about the refs, but they weren't really great last night. There was a lot of inconsistencies in
It
those.
happens.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and it's listen. I would never want to be an official in any sport,
Yeah,
right? Like I
me
knew
neither.
myself as a coach, so I'm like. Yeah, no. I've been asked to be a ref, and I'm like, nah. I know how I was as a coach, and I'm not doing it. So my hat's off to any official out there. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
They deal with the worst when it comes to that. But
Especially when they don't get it right.
Oh,
when they
forget about it.
They made a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's like the end of the world for them.
yeah, it's a tough job.
It is.
You know, I
It is.
give them a lot of credit.
Okay, but
But
the fans aspect
the fans,
was okay.
you know, it wasn't bad. And I've been in environments, man, where like you're watching these fans, especially as a coach, you sit there and you hear some of the stuff that even parents of like your own kids on the team,
Yeah.
like, they're talking bad about them, and it's like, man, you should be preaching positivity for these kids, no matter what. Like,
You want to tell them like,
Yeah.
shut up.
yeah, like seriously,
Exactly.
what you're saying, especially
Yeah.
in youth sports. But once you get to that higher levels, I understand that fans are proud to be like a Bills fan. You got Bills Mafia, you know what I mean? Like they are
Yeah.
proud of their team. They're proud of their city. I get that, like, and I respect that a ton. You know what I mean? I'm a Packers fan, so
Okay.
like I have a lot of pride in that. You know, I'm a Duke basketball fan,
Oh,
right?
okay, me too. Yeah.
Like I'm a big fan of Coach K. Obviously love
Remember
Syracuse.
the Bobby Hurley and the Grant Hill days.
You know, and like I love Syracuse
Syracuse,
basketball.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Syracuse football, and you know it's good. There's a lot of pride in this city. You know, there's a lot of pride in this city for Syracuse sports, which I absolutely love. And when it comes to certain aspects, like I don't know if you saw the Jason Kelsey situation.
The cell phone incident.
Yeah, so this is where I think we need to talk about fans going overboard, right? Like
Yeah.
on network TV, Jason Kelsey apologized, right? Because you know that people were telling him, hey man, you should probably apologize for this situation.
Of course.
I don't agree with that. I don't think he should have had to apologize. First of all, what the kid said, you have no right to say that, and why are you using that vulgar language, right?
He disrespected Travis.
Travis,
in
right?
that
Yeah.
situation. Okay.
And the language he used was completely wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
don't say that. And this dude is just, Jason Kelsey is a normal person. Every athlete, I don't care if you're a pro athlete or a college athlete, like, yeah, we look up to these people, we do, but they're still human beings, right? And like these coaches and everything going on, they're all humans, man. Like, we should be respecting them. Like, if he went back to that kid and said that same exact thing to that kid about their brother, you know the kid's gonna react the same way, probably worse, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing we gotta think about. If we're gonna speak at someone or we're gonna talk at someone, let's think about these things before we say them in video recording and stuff. Like, my hat's off to him for smashing that phone, right?
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
It's better than smashing that phone than smashing his face.
That person, exactly.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, he did the best he could without pushing it too much, right? Like, he's standing up for his family. You cross family, man. You cross you,
And at
me
that
and you are
point,
family.
sports and all that
Yeah,
are
it's all out
the
the window.
Exactly.
So I think that's something we really need to talk about. Is like, as a fan, man, like, take a step back. It's a sport, right? Like, yeah, I know these guys are getting paid millions. These women are getting paid. I mean, women should be paid a lot more than they are paid.
Yeah.
Definitely, but they're making money. And I understand you want to support the team, support the programs, but why are we bashing coaches?
I think I don't mean to cut you off,
you're good.
but I think a lot of the fans also look at it as, I'm paying this money.
Yep.
I'm supporting you. I'm buying this merchandise. I'm coming here every week. I think to them, they almost feel like entitled to do that, because I look at the situations that Russell Westbrook has been in the past with, like, Utah fans.
Yep.
And Utah fans, and I'm not knocking Utah, but from what a lot of basketball players have said, they've had a lot of issues with fans in Utah because they're so passionate about the Utah Jazz that when they're going against these other teams, they just feel like they can just say whatever. You know what I mean? And then it has crossed the lines to where Russell Westbrook has gotten cursed out, the finger thrown at him, he's been called racial slurs, and it's like, it's true. When is enough? Like, just kicking this person out and banning him, that's for that person, but then you're just filling that seat with somebody else who's still, you know what I mean? So at some point, we have to have some type of respect for these players for everything that they're doing. You know, and don't just look at it like, well, okay, I'm spending this money, I'm doing all this. Like, okay, but that still doesn't give you the right to disrespect this person.
Yeah.
And like you said, if it was the other way around, you know.
And that's where these athletes, it's unfair to them too, because their hands are tied, right? Like, they know they can't do anything.
Of course, lawsuits.
And that's not fair to them. You know what I mean? He did something, and who knows what's coming up from it other than just what we see, right? Like, there could be things behind closed doors where that kid's trying to sue him or whatever. Nonsense. But as an individual, I'm not going to walk up to Jason Kelsey and say something like that, right? I'm going to be like, hey, it's Jason Kelsey, much respect, you know what I mean?
Or just don't say nothing at all.
Exactly,
yeah.
And that's the thing. I watched a coach, there was a coach, I forgot which college team it was, I watched it recently, and I think it was a Miami coach, I really do, football. And I don't know what these guys were saying, but it was bad, right? And of course, everybody gets their phone out, right? They start videotaping this coach who's standing up for his team, standing up for his players. Like, don't be saying that, right? And then they're bashing his coach, like, oh, hey, you shouldn't have said that, you shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that. And I understand there's a professionalism they gotta hold, but they're still human beings, right?
Exactly.
You can't cross that line, and they can't allow it. Like, we're taught at a young age to stand up for ourselves, right? Like, stand up for what you see as wrong, and he's doing that, and then they were bashing him. So I think in sports, we really got to watch these lines that are getting crossed. You know what I mean? Like, I get it.
It's sad because that repercussion, like you said, just by them videotaping, they might have just caught those certain moments. They didn't see what happened, transpired before.
Yep.
So it's like, in that instance, that coach or even Jason Kelsey, they're the bad guy.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like, because a lot of people may just see, well, him grabbing a fan's phone, breaking it, but not really understanding why he crossed the line.
Yep.
And, I'm sure some people will probably say, well, your brother's a professional athlete, he should be able to deal with it. But at the same time, it doesn't matter, because I'm sure when he did what he did, it wasn't about sports at that moment. moment.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially because that guy didn't even say anything about, you know, sports in that instance.
No, it
was
had nothing
more
to do with it.
disrespectful
Yeah.
to him and Taylor Swift. So, you know, I do understand where he came from in that reaction, because I know my reaction to certain things.
Yep.
And I'm not even on that type of scale yet, or, you know what I mean? So I do understand that, but, you know, it's unfortunate that he did have to apologize.
Yeah.
Because, you know, of course, it's, like you said, the litigation aspect comes
It's a
in.
representing of, like, the NFL. Okay?
And this person is probably going to do that anyway because, you know, that was his property, you know, so, yeah.
It's just tough, you know. You can go back to even the Yankee series when that fan grabbed Mookie Betts' arm, right?
Mhm.
Like, let's talk about this stuff. What if, and I said this when I watched it in the moment, I'm like, what if he ripped out Mookie Betts' shoulder?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
you're talking, you could end a guy's career being ignorant. Like, what are you doing? And I understand, like, let's throw him out. He's never allowed back in. 100% right. Right? That he should never be allowed to do our sports team. But what are we doing, man? Like,
why are we allowing this? And
Yeah.
even fans, like, fans also should be able to hold other fans accountable.
100%.
You know, because in situations like that, you think about it. Say if he would have, you know, hurt his shoulder.
Yeah.
Now, say if other fans decided to jump on that fan.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like it's crazy how involved fans, and I'm one too, how we get so involved into the sport because it's our team. It's something that we're passionate about.
We're proud of it.
Yeah. You know, we're there, we're supporting, we have all the apparel. But then when we get to the point where we see them losing or we see things are not going the way we want, and we feel like, okay, well, now I should say this, or I deserve to say this, and, you know, it's fucked up.
It is, and we got to think about this. Like, think about what these athletes put their bodies through every day in and day out, right?
Yeah.
Like, you see, like, you go to look at LeBron, who has to pay $500,000, whatever the money is, just for recovery for his body, you know what I mean? Like, these guys have to invest in themselves because they're putting themselves through so much. When you hear an athlete that says he's got to take, you know, 2 bottles of ibuprofen for a week just to, like, numb the pain that he's going through, and
or
you got
those
these
ice
guys,
baths right after games and things because of the, you know, bring down the inflammation or the, you know. So.
And you get all this stuff where you got, like, these athletes that are putting their body through so much and playing through injury for the fans, right? Like, they're doing
and for
that.
their team, for their city, but it's for a cause.
You know, and like, they're doing it for their team, but they you know, some of these guys look at it like, these fans are here to watch me, I gotta play.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And they put their body through a lot, more than we can say, right? Like,
the average person.
You know, the average person can say, and then we're gonna treat an athlete like that, right? Like, I mean, Clay just went back. Did you see Clay Thompson just went back and they all had the hats on for him? So that was pretty cool.
Okay.
They all wore the captain hats.
Oh,
He
really?
won the championship for them. So, like, that's the positivity I love to see, right? Like,
because he's done so much for that city.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Instead of, like, bashing this guy who's walking into your stadium because he's not working for you anymore or playing for your city.
Yeah.
Half the time it ain't their choice.
It ain't their choice.
He
didn't want to leave. And you know, it's cool that you said that because I look at when LeBron first left Cleveland and went to Miami.
Yep.
And for him, what he said, and I get that, him going to Miami from Cleveland was like him leaving high school going to college.
Yep.
Because he never got that experience. Because he went straight from high school to the pros.
Yep.
So Miami was like that kind of college feel for him that he never got to experience. Those fans, I mean, even the owner at the time, you know, it was almost like, how dare you do this to me? Everything that I've done, fans were burning fingers. They hated him because he brought so much money to that city that he started, you know, saving jobs. But when he left, it was a choice that he wanted to make, and he deserved that.
Yeah.
When he finally came back and won the title in Cleveland, when he was ready to go, what I did love about probably those same fans, they were okay with it. They were happy that he was ready to move on because he did what he needed to do for that city.
Yep.
So it was at that point to where it was like, you know what, you did something for us that nobody's ever done, and now you deserve to go and live your life and play wherever you want to, and then just play out your career wherever you want to. So you see how, like you said with Clay, the appreciation from fans, because fans do love these players, fans do love these teams, but you do get a few dozen out of that, the bunch that decides, well, you know what, I'm going to take it to this step, and it's like at that point, it's like, why?
Yeah.
And what's going to happen besides the bench? It's like you should be there just to appreciate it, love it, get into it. When they lose, we lose. They win, we win. I understand that, but don't take it to that point. You know. And then when you're crossing over into things that I've heard players get, you suck from fans, you're terrible. That's normal talk.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you go into the situation with this Jason Kelsey, it's like, why are you even going there?
Yeah, that ain't.
You know what I mean? Like that's
That's beyond being a fan of the sport.
Of course. That's just, I'm trying to antagonize this person, and I'm going to do and say whatever it is.
Yep.
And sometimes you get people like that, Jesse, because they're itching for a reaction.
Yeah.
They're looking to go viral. Yep. Or they're looking to get paid.
Yeah, and that's the sad part, right? Like I look at Jason Kelsey, man, he comes to Buffalo, right? Kansas City's playing Buffalo. He had his shirt off in the parking lot. He's drinking with the Bills Mafia, and that's where I've been to. Have you been to a Bills game?
No.
So
I don't think I would.
Dude, those fans are honestly great.
I do. I like the Bills. I do like the Bills because the Bills is that upstate team.
And you go to a Bills game, man, it's cool. Like the environment's cool. Like these fans they're awesome. Like they have a ton of pride in Buffalo, right? I can't say it. I mean, I go to a lot of Bills games with my friends. My friends are huge Bills fans.
Oh, okay.
And it's cool. The environment's cool. There's not a lot of chaos. Everybody's just like, let's go Buffalo. Like there's a big pride in that,
To piggyback off what you're saying, I've been to Giants games and I've been to Yankee games and Mets games. That New York pride, and I've been to Knicks games, so the New York pride, I do understand that. So
and you get that at Buffalo. Like that's the type of fans I love, right? You want to have that pride.
Exactly. It makes you feel good. You actually become a fan at that moment.
And
that's cool.
It makes the people in the NFL want to play there. The people in the NBA want to play there. In hockey, you know what I mean? They see that pride and they're like, this is great. I love this city.
Exactly.
Right? And it makes them want to stay. It makes them want to win. They want to win for you, for the city.
Exactly.
Obviously for themselves and the team, but that's the thing. That's the stuff I love to see. And when you see this nonsense of this guy doing that, it's like, dude, you're crossing the line. And then as in the NFL and whatever the industry, the commentating now that he's doing, like, hey, you got to apologize. I don't respect that. Like, I get what he has to do. Like, he knows he has to do that, right?
Exactly.
And if I'm gonna have a conversation with Jason Kelsey, I'm gonna be like, I have a lot of respect for you, man. Like, legit, you could have easily dropped that dude, right? Not that I condone fighting by any means, like I don't encourage it.
But in that situation, he could have.
Exactly. I mean, think about the Malice and the Palace, right?
Wow.
Back in the day. Let's bring it back, right? Let's bring it back.
But you know what's crazy? When you look at that situation, I think what that also did was show fans that these players are willing to go to that extreme for things. You know what I mean? And I think what it did was show them that, these guys are professional. These guys are making money. They're doing their job. But at the same time, we're human also. And when you cross that line, because when you look at it, Ron Artest, Steven Jackson, they were ready to go.
Oh yeah,
To a point to where, look at the name of it, Malice in the Palace.
You know what I mean? And then you're sitting there and you're like, you're putting these harps on these athletes, right? Like, I watched a whole series on that Netflix series, or that Netflix documentary on that, and I've watched it a couple times. And what do you do in that situation? Like, he's standing up for himself. Like, you throw something at him, he's like, come on, man. Like, I'm already at the max from the game. These guys are playing at a high level, high intensity.
And then they're getting it from each other on, the opposition on those teams. So because you're already in the paint, getting banged up. You know what I mean? They're getting slapped. They're not calling fouls. You get refs that are going against you. So again, the intensity level is very high, and here you come as a fan deciding to really add fuel to the fire, because I noticed when that happened with him, he was at a boiling point and he snapped. And when a person gets to a boiling point and they snap, it's very hard to sometimes bring them back down. So. And
then, I mean, at the end of that, he gets hit with the, whatever it was, a cup or whatever, water. And like he said, he was laying on that table to try to calm himself. Like he was going to therapy. He was doing the things he needed to do because he knew that he had to. And then he's like, just like, I was at a point where I'm calming myself and this is what happens. And then you get this dude coming on the court throwing his hands up. It's like, what are you doing, man? So that you can look at those extreme situations, but what are we doing as fans? Like, why are we saying certain things we're saying? Like, there was a college coach walking off the field. There was a video on it, and he's sitting there, and this guy comes down and he starts to bash him. And the coach is like, "What's your name? What's your name? If you're gonna run your mouth, I want to know what you got to say. What's your name?" The kid walked away. You know what I mean? But you know who the coach is, right? Because it's all over ESPN. Like, these coaches are.
That's cowardice.
And that's where, like, if you're gonna be that guy,
and be that guy. Exactly.
Be man enough to be like, this is how I feel, right? Like, if I'm gonna give my opinion as a coach, I'll gladly say that's my opinion, and this is who I am, and that's okay, right? Because everybody has an opinion, right? But why are we crossing these lines that we're crossing, and then making a statement saying that we got to make these pro athletes, anybody, celebrities or whatever, apologize for their beliefs because they're human, right?
See, that's the bullshit I really don't like, when you have to. You're taking the accountability for someone else. And it's, again, because it's what's going on behind the scenes.
And it's about the money.
And again, what it does for the NFL or the NBA or the MLB. The type of reputation that will bring, you know what I mean? So now you're getting it, because the NBA had to take a lot of flack over that malice in the past. You look at, because I'm sure lawsuits were handed out towards the NBA from fans that may have not had any involvement, but still got part of, hit or thrown down because of the repercussions. So when you look at it like that, then it's like, okay, you have to do this in order to do that. And a lot of those athletes knew they had to do that because they could have lost their job. So they had, again, you take your fines, again, you take your suspension, but it's like, you either go through that or this will happen. So it's sad, but then at the same time, you're banning the fan. But like I said, and it's not everybody, but if you're replacing that seat with one person that was like that, you may be just giving it to somebody else. So it's like, where does that balance come in?
That's where I respect, like, the NCAA right now, right? There's been numerous games this year where people are throwing bottles and stuff on the fields over calls that refs are making, right? And they're starting to find the colleges, and I respect that, right? Like, you gotta reel these kids in. Like, one, you're delaying the game. Two, you could be hitting a cheerleader. You could be hitting a person walking. You know what I mean?
Somebody could slip, fall, anything, man.
That's the point where I respect them a ton. And like, okay, once I find out who this student is, you do that again, you're gone.
Oh, you're done.
You're gone.
You're
know
done,
what I mean?
of course.
Because we're not going to keep taking a hit because your reaction. And if you're that individual that's starting it, guess what? We're expelling you from school. You just lost your money.
You have to, because if you think about it, you got to look at how much, and I know, we talk about major athletes, professional athletes, but when you look at college, how much money goes into these athletes. how much it goes into these schools.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, when you get somebody that is doing something like that, they should get expelled.
Yeah.
Not getting anything back, not getting anything back, because if you do hurt one, imagine one of those recruiters. Kids get recruited. They come, somebody does something like that. You have to take care of that child for the rest of his life, especially if the damage is done to where he can never play sports again.
Yep.
You have to make sure he gets an education. You have to make sure all his hospital bills and everything are paid for. So now it's like it's added money onto what, and now they're not even getting this player.
Yeah.
So it has to begin, like I said, that accountability. It has to, come into play, but.
And you nailed it on the head, accountability, man. Like, this kid that did that to Jason Kelsey, he needs to take responsibility for his actions.
Now, what has happened to him?
I don't know.
Oh,
I haven't heard anything. All you hear about is
it's just
Jason
the
Kelsey,
apology,
right?
yeah.
And you hear about that because he's a big name, right? But we owe it to that guy, and it's like, we need to back Jason Kelsey on this,
Of course.
right? Like,
of
100%. We owe it to him to be like, man, we're sorry for that. Like, you don't deserve that. Travis doesn't deserve that. Taylor Swift, I don't care how people feel about that whole situation.
To apologize. I'm not saying if he was made or not, because I don't know, but more than likely, but at the same time, it's like, again, like you said, we should back these players, because when you look at it, the person that did that, right or wrong, he's just got his viral moment.
Yep, no matter what.
Because you're going to get some people, some idiots, they're gonna, that was good you did that. I'm happy, that was cool.
No, you're an idiot. Yeah, let's not act like that. Let's not be clowns, man. Dude, let's not be clowns in these situations, and let's support our teams in a respectful way. I remember when I was coaching, we'd always hear, be a fan, not a fanatic, right? Like,
that's a good one.
That's what we used to hear all the time. Every game we had, like, be a fan, not a fanatic. Because you gotta remember, like, these kids are out there, they work hard, right? When I was coaching basketball, we made it to a couple state championships. And these kids are putting the work in 12 months out of the year. Like, I was running AAU with them. We were doing workout programs in the gym.
I just spent many times with the AAU teams.
So these kids are playing from March all the way into November. And then November starts and they're back playing in March. 2 years in a row, those kids did that. So, like, they're putting in this work. Like, give them the respect. I don't care if you're for the other team. If they make a good play, that's a good play, man. Like, I don't care if I'm watching college basketball and somebody makes a good play, I'm like, ooh, that was a good play.
Because you're a fan. When you're a fan of a sport, regardless, because you think about it, how many basketball games or football games have you watched and neither one of your teams was playing? But you see some dope shit and you're like, yo, that was, you know what I mean? So it happens, so, but I like what you said, be a fan, not a fanatic. Because you do get that, and I look at a lot that, like I said, when we talk about like Russell Westbrook, he's dealt with so much, and he is, just because you don't win an NBA championship does not mean that you are a legendary ball player. Because there's a lot of ball players that never won NBA championships and they were badass. And I hope he does get one in his career, but regardless, he still deserves that respect. So when you get fans that are talking shit about him, like, they had nicknames for him because he would miss shots, so they called him West Brick, and it's like, it's like, I understand where you're trying to be funny, you're trying to talk shit, and that's normal, because we've played sports before, so,
you chirp.
you expect that, but it's like, when you get to a point to where now you start throwing that in with racial slurs, it's like, why? Why does that line have to get crossed? But then when you get the reaction from them, a lot of them are like, oh no, I was just playing. But you weren't playing when you decided that.
You crossed
now you're just joking about it. You know what I mean? But don't joke like that. Because again, like you said, these guys are professional, but at the end of the day, they're human. They're grown men, they're grown women. I'm a man first before anything else.
And a family man.
And a family man.
And those kids are at those games. Their families are at those games. Like, would you want me to do that in front of your grandmother or mother and treat you a certain way?
Or their own kids.
Yeah.
Imagine when their own kids have to hear that getting called about their, mother or father.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And I mean, I remember going to actually, it was when I was coaching. My parents bought me Duke Syracuse tickets because they knew I was a Duke fan.
Okay.
So it was so cool. And like, I know we're from Cuse. I love this city, but I've always just been a Duke fan. It's just
Me
one
too,
of those
bro.
weird
Me
fans,
too.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
me too.
as a kid growing up is when I started. I went to North Carolina. I walked on Duke campus.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That
pretty
experience?
Cool.
That's dope.
So it was cool. And I just remember my buddy went, huge Syracuse fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing my Duke gear, you know what I mean? Everybody's chirping. I was loving it, right? It's cool.
Yeah,
like you said, when you're playing competitive ball, people are like, oh, blah, 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 Duke sucks, whatever.
Go ahead.
So I remember getting on the bus and like, people don't know me from a hole in the wall, right?
Yeah.
And I've coached basketball for a long time. I know the sport pretty well. And I was getting on the bus and these people just started going on. Like, yo, Duke sucks, blah, 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 blah. I hate you, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at them and I go, you know what? That was a great game. And they shut right up. Because I wasn't like, I hate you, blah, blah, blah. I just said, that was a really good basketball game.
Exactly.
And they didn't say another word. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I think they got the point. Like, at the end of the day, you can love your team, right? You can hate other teams, whatever. But good sports are good sports, right? Like, that's why millions of people watch sports. Like,
it is gonna always, it's something that we enjoy, it's something that we love. Like I remember when I did, my boy, he took me to the Giants game.
Yep.
And they were playing the 49ers. And he had the seats, because what I like about our seats, because in football, when you're sitting so close, it's kind of hard to see both sides of the field. But the higher you're up, you get to see everything. He brought me around the most diabolical Giants fans. And I remember taking off my jacket and I had a hoodie on. Took the hoodie off, 49ers. Took the jacket off, boo! Get him out of here! And I was just like, yes, yes.
take it.
And when the 49ers started, beating them, I just be looking at people like this. So then when something happens and the Giants were winning, they all look at me pointing. But it was such a fun experience. Yeah. That was my very first time going. Yeah. So, but it was such a fun experience and nothing got to a point to where anything was crossed. Yeah. Nobody was trying, because you do get that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
especially when you look at certain football fans and when those teams be going at it. But it was one of those experiences that I enjoyed, even the boos. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because that was just fans being fans. Yeah. And I didn't, and he did it on purpose. Like, I'm going to bring you around, because he's a Giants fan. Yeah. So, well, he's Kansas City, but he loves Giants. But he was just like, I'm going to bring him right here. Yeah. I'm, not wondering what's going on. And then I'm like, oh, shit.
He just did me.
It was just like, you could drop a pin, everybody just look, boom!
And you think about it as an athlete, right? Like, they're hearing that too,
Of course.
They're hearing those boos and they love that because it fires them up. And that's the cool thing. Like, even the WNBA was so much fun to watch this year. And like we talked about Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and like, they strive off of that boo stuff and stuff like that.
Of course.
But it's when you cross those lines. Like, you can do that stuff. But we don't need to be fighting each other over sports.
Shit. But it's the difference between talking shit and like really talking some shit.
And pulling racial slurs, right? Like, you pull racial slurs, you're crossing the line.
Crossing into families and things like that. Yeah, that has no place in sports.
Yep.
Man, so.
And that's where we owe it to these coaches, these athletes, you know what I mean? They're putting in that work. Like, let's just not cross those lines. Let's not be that kid attacking Jason Kelsey over his brother and Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? Like, those lines don't need to be crossed. And honestly, if I could say anything in the NFL, it's like, you don't have to make him apologize for nothing. Like, he don't owe that kid a thing.
Nothing.
You know what I mean? We owe him the respect of like trying to keep his temper the best he could. Mm-hmm. And guess what? He's lucky he didn't drop that kid, because you say that about our family.
He could have hurt him.
He could have,
exactly. You cross that line with us, it's going to be different.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But we don't have that big name, so we don't have to worry about it, right?
Worry about that, yeah.
But that's the thing we need. We owe that dude you know, if Jason Kelsey, if you're listening, man, I respect you a ton.
Definitely.
You know, big shout out to you for, you know, yeah, you apologize and whatever. You didn't have to, you know, as a person who's not an Eagles fan, but I'm a Jason Kelsey fan.
Okay.
Like that, okay. He don't need to. So we'll throw this to your podcast. We'll throw this to you and Trav's podcast and talk about it. But that's one thing. It's a ton of respect to him for handling that situation the best he could, you know, without losing his temper completely. And, you know, he's got kids, he's got a wife. You know, I've seen his poor wife has been out and people have disrespected her. And it's like, people see it on the videos and they're like, oh, did you see what she did? Yeah, she stood up for herself. Like, she has every right to do that.
And it shouldn't even go to that point. The fact that it goes to your family, like when you cross over, because so you can just imagine like what those kids have to deal with of athletes.
Yeah.
When they got to go to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sure they're getting told at home, don't respond.
Yep. Yep.
These people don't know me, don't respond. Because if you respond, then, and that person gets hurt, they're not going to come after you, they're going to come after, you know, and you may even get some jackass type of parents that'll say, oh, say something, oh, such and such goes to your school, oh, say something.
Yeah.
And trigger him, and that's wrong.
Yeah,
you know,
it's 100%.
It is,
So at the end of this, you know, hats off to these athletes for all the work, the coaches, you know, everybody in the organizations that have to put that work in, and as fans, we can be a little bit better. I think, you know, I definitely be a fan, support your team, be proud, you know, have that fun, heckle each other, whatever. But let's not cross these lines, man. These athletes don't deserve that. Their families don't deserve it. You know, let's be better. Let's be better.